Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the all-new Toyota Prius. Before getting into this video, though, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. And if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post this content every single day. Let's get into it. The all-new Prius is scheduled to debut in just a few days, and this is actually really exciting because this new Prius is supposed to move the ball pretty far forward. And that's actually what the original Prius did, because it was something that we hadn't seen before. It was a very affordable, fuel-efficient hybrid vehicle that wasn't necessarily the best looking, but you know, it was a great A to B type car. And this new Prius is supposed to kind of redefine that. First off, one of the biggest changes with the new Prius is going to be the exterior styling. Now you guys can see the two teaser photos that Toyota has released on the new Prius, and it shows that, you know, some of the design cues of the previous generation Prius are going to carry over, i.e. the overall shape is somewhat similar, but it definitely looks quite a bit more sleek compared to before. And Toyota's emphasized that they want to make sure that this new Prius is still aerodynamic and still spacious like the prior version, but also really good looking, so that it's not so much of a laughing stock like it has been since, I guess, initial release, because it's kind of like an egg with wheels. And so that's the first big change, is going to be the exterior styling with this new Prius, just to make it a little bit more desirable looking. The next big change is going to come to the powertrains associated with the Prius. Toyota is definitely focused on efficiency when it comes to the Prius because, well, that's why people buy it. And so with the base powertrain, they're aiming to make it so the car can get over 60 miles per gallon. Currently, the Prius is in that 50 mile per gallon range, and so yeah, they're definitely bumping things forward. And it sounds like Toyota wants a Prius that can get, you know, 800 miles on a tank of fuel, which would be extremely impressive, and I'm sure, again, the Prius community would appreciate it. They are still planning on keeping all-wheel drive as an option with the Prius because it's been extremely popular, especially with people that live in places where it snows, and so it's good that they're going to be keeping that as an option. But then we get into the other weird new powertrains. So the first is going to be a plug-in hybrid, and this isn't all too weird because, well, Toyota already has plug-in hybrids, and so yeah, that's just a continuation of what we already have. So Toyota is going to continue that. But the really weird one is a powertrain where it's a gas engine, you still have electric motors, but it also has a hydrogen component to it, and the hydrogen fuel is what is powering the battery pack to then power the electric motors. Now, I'm not of the opinion that this is actually going to happen, but there's been enough talk of this that I have to mention it in this video. But I just don't think that it makes sense because hydrogen-powered cars are just extremely expensive, and, well, there's not a lot of hydrogen fueling stations, and so that also kind of adds to the complexity of the whole situation. And so it would just make more sense for Toyota to just stick with the traditional hybrid route and then also to do a plug-in hybrid. I understand the Prius is all about moving the ball forward when it comes to technology, and that definitely would be moving the ball forward because I don't think there's ever been a hybrid that has a hydrogen-powered component associated with it. So it would be interesting. But just imagine like having to go to a gas station and fill up with gas, and then you have to go and find a hydrogen station and fill up with hydrogen. That would be a complete mess. But I mean, one way that Toyota could get around that is similar to what you have to deal with diesel trucks with diesel emission fluid, where it's not something that you fill up all the time, it's just every so often. So maybe Toyota dealers could have this in stock, and so maybe every few thousand miles you go and fill up the hydrogen tank because the fuel is not being used at nearly the same rate as regular gas. But yeah, we'll see what happens on that side of things, but I wouldn't really count that as actually happening. Now, with that big jumble out of the way, all you really need to know is that Toyota is laser focused on efficiency with this new Prius to make it so that it is going to be the best Prius ever. And that actually leads me to the interior of the new Prius. It is going to be completely overhauled, and it's going to adopt a theme similar to what Toyota has with a lot of their other vehicles that they've recently redesigned, like the new Tundra, for example, the new Sequoia. Obviously, it won't have that like rugged utilitarian interior, but you know, the new infotainment screen that they have in vehicles like that, they have that new infotainment screen in the new Corolla, for example. So that type of technology will trickle into the interior. But again, the Prius has always had kind of a different, more future-focused interior compared to other Toyota models. So expect there to be some, interesting quirks with the Prius interior, especially when you compare it to a standard Toyota model. And there has been talks of Toyota getting rid of the strange shifter that the Prius has and going for something that's even stranger. We don't have enough information yet to know exactly what that's going to be, but I just hope that it's a little bit more intuitive than what is currently in the Prius because, well, yeah, it's not exactly the most exciting thing to use, and half the time it's just a complete frustration. Now, the next thing that's really important for the new Prius is going to be pricing, because the Prius is all about being fuel efficient and affordable, and that's not going to change. And that's why Toyota is planning on keeping, the base model Prius that has just a standard hybrid powertrain, and also why they are going to continue to offer a plug-in hybrid Prius as well. And so starting price is going to be in the mid $20,000 range. It is going to be a little bit up compared to the current generation, which starts at just under $25,000. So expect that to just jump up by, at least $1,000, potentially even more. And then fully loaded, it's going to be in the $30,000 range for sure, because it's already there now. It might get over $40,000 with the top line package, especially if they end up doing that weird hydrogen fuel cell Prius. We'll see if that actually comes out, but if it does, it will surely be expensive. And so the Prius will still ultimately be what the Prius has always been, again, affordable and fuel efficient, but it'll look a little bit cooler. Now we get into my thoughts on this new Prius and a number of things. So first off, I think it's really smart that they are keeping like a standard hybrid powertrain and they're not changing things up too much so that buyers have something familiar to go to that is also, again, affordable, so the Prius doesn't lose what it's always embodied. However, there are some changes that I wish that Toyota would make to the Prius that they ultimately will probably not make to the Prius because of what it's supposed to be. First of which is the transmission. So the Prius uses a CVT right now, and the next generation will surely use a CVT because Toyota doesn't plan on getting rid of those anytime soon. And yes, CVTs are great for efficiency, but they're not so great for longevity and drivability, because when it comes to longevity, well, if something happens to a CVT, you have to replace the whole transmission. You can't just replace a part, so it's very expensive. And then when it comes to drivability, everyone knows CVTs aren't the best. The best CVT that I have driven is in the new Nissan Rogue, and I'm not talking about reliability, I'm talking about drivability. That CVT, really quick with the transitions. And so I guess if Toyota makes the new Prius quicker with the transitions, then it'll be a much better transmission. And I think that, I would appreciate it a lot more, and I think Prius buyers would frankly appreciate it a lot more. And so that, or maybe they should eventually put a torque converter automatic in it, but that's most likely not going to happen. And the next thing that has to be stated is power. Now, I understand that, again, the Prius is all about efficiency, but it is so brutally slow. The Prius that I had as a tester, again, was an XLE all-wheel drive, so it had like 121 horsepower, and that's fine when you're going around town, and that's great for getting good gas mileage because you have such a small engine with so little power that, again, it's all about efficiency. But when you get on the highway with that thing, I mean, foot all the way down and you're not even moving. And so, I hope that they at least slightly increase the power figures, but with Toyota's track record, they're most likely not going to do that, maybe by marginal amounts, but not by enough to make it so that it's more drivable, especially on the interstate. And so as cool as the new Prius is going to look, it's still going to be an extremely slow car, and it's also still going to be a car that, again, most likely utilizes a CVT, so it's not going to be particularly exciting to drive. However, with all of that being said, the core demographic of people that purchase the new Prius are ultimately going to love the new Prius because it's moving the ball forward with everything that they care about, and because it's still a hybrid. Yes, there is a big push for electrification with cars where we're no longer using internal combustion engines. But what a lot of people are realizing, especially people that have owned fully electric cars, is that having a hybrid is far superior to a full electric car because, yes, emissions are still there, but they're a lot lower than a car that isn't a hybrid, and you still have the ability to travel all around the country very quickly and very easily without having to worry about our crappy charging infrastructure. And so that's why this new Prius actually could potentially be a hit to Tesla, because a lot of people that are buying Teslas were people that were buying Priuses when it was first released. And so some of them might end up going back into Toyota's fold. And lastly, to really drive this point home, I actually had a chance to review every single powertrain with the new Kia Niro. And this is really important because with the new Kia Niro, you can get a standard hybrid, you can get a plug-in hybrid, and you can get a fully electric vehicle. It's the same car. The pricing's a little bit different because the powertrains are different. Now with the regular hybrid, it's actually selling decently well because it's very affordable. The plug-in hybrid is selling amazingly well because you've got that full electric driving range, but again, you can take road trips without having to stress because you can just fill up at a gas station. The EV with the new Kia Niro is actually struggling to sell because of how much it costs and because it's just inferior when you compare it to the plug-in hybrid with everything that it offers. And this translates really well to a lot of these full electric cars that are now competing with all of the hybrids that we're getting in the market, because electric cars can do a lot, but hybrids can do a lot more. And so this new Prius, I think, is going to really cement hybrids even more into the car industry. And we're going to see a lot of other automakers follow suit with what Toyota is doing with this new Prius, where they focus more on hybrids rather than full electric cars, because that, frankly, is what works best right now. That's going to sum things up for today's video. Let me know what you guys think about the new Prius, and let me know what you think about what the new Prius is trying to accomplish with pushing, hybrids more into the mainstream rather than fully electric vehicles. I'll see you.